This is another one of my main study sites. It is right at the confluence, which you can see here, of the Old Man River and the St. Mary's. St. Mary's is the one coming down into meeting with the Old Man here. And this place I call Bitsiksinakawakko, although there's a lot of places that are called that. And that means snake coulee. I call it that because this is one of the places that has a really high rattlesnake population. And it's not really so close to any of the subdivisions that the snakes here are getting killed at all like they are at some of the other places. The old word for this place, for the confluence anyway, was Akenisko. And some people would translate that as many deaths, because right over there at that confluence was where the original Fort Whoop-Up was situated in 1871, I believe. And with the whiskey trade, boy, there was a lot of death down here. But I look at Akenisko as an even older word, even older place name, and I translate it as being many berries. And I know this confluence was important in the past. In fact, when those guys came to set up Fort Whoop-Up in that winter of 1871, when they rolled in, there was a meeting of the Blackfoot Confederacy going on here. Bunch of bands from Bikani, Amskapi, Bikani, and Ghana. I think maybe even Siksika was here because of what had happened down south. There had been a massacre on the Marias River of Heavy Runners band, and so the clans of the Blackfoot Confederacy were getting together, to discuss what to do about it. And those whiskey traders were just lucky they didn't get completely wiped out. There was some cooler heads here, but some of the guys that were here, some of the leaders, did want to do them in right away as a kind of part of a revenge. But yeah, so this was a meeting place in the past. The confluence where bands from the tribes would get together for political reasons and such. Akenisko, meaning many berries, might have been the old name for this place, although that might be a stretch because I don't really see too many berries down here now today. But of course, that might have had, things might have changed from in the last 100-some years in terms of the plant life down here. When all this stuff was going on at Fort Whoop-Up, some of the berries could have got berry bushes could have got just totally obliterated here. Who knows? So anyway, but I do notice that there's some really old areas down here. There's some really ancient trees, and across the river, across the Old Man, in between that confluence where the old Whoop-Up was, there is quite a bit older forest and more bushes, so there might be a lot of berries over that way. Anyway, I've got about an hour here, and my friend is going to come meet me. He wants to check on some of the rattlesnake hibernacula, but for in the meantime, I thought I'd take the recorder around with me, and I'm going to go look kind of on these ridge tops for some stutsimon, which is a particular kind of cactus berry from the ball cactus. See if there's any still around. somewhere down there, there's a pheasant rooster making those goblin sounds. I've also heard since I've been here, great horned owl, magpies, and what I suspect are yellow rump warblers, little cheep and sounds. I'm checking these kind of eroded ridges for Otstutsimon. This is where I expect to find it, that and on the coulee rim itself on the top. Haven't come across any yet. I've come across the other cactus, Otskotsis, which is the prickly pear. There are other plants up here that are, interesting plants. This one right here that looks the sage color plant. There's a lot of them around here. Like this whole slope here has a bunch of them. They retain this kind of nice sage color all the way through the winter. They don't lose their leaves. So this is called winter fat, and it's something that animals like deer, maybe horses, can graze on in the winter, and it's still got its foliage. Another interesting plant, I noticed one back here, maybe I can find it again. Earlier in the summer, there's a really important plant that grows on these slopes called moss. Here it is, the prairie turnip moss. And this is what happens to moss. Basically, the stem, once it dries, the stem breaks off, and so it turns into a kind of a tumbleweed. And you might get lucky and find some that are have enough grass. Like this one had enough grass around it. I'm pretty sure the root is in there still. But for the most part, in winter, you can't dig this root, and it's a really important food root. It's like a potato, basically. And but this is what it looks like in winter. And chances are, if you come across it, it won't be actually connected to the root that you're after. So these are a couple of plants. Another one, I think this is called the witch's broom. This yellow, this bright kind of yellow flowered plant, and that plant is, when it's in its best yellow form, which is not right now, but when it's really nice, yellow, bright yellow, almost a neon yellow, then that plant can be harvested and used for a yellow dye. If you want to dye anything, in the past it would have been like dyeing porcupine quills, that kind of a thing. So those are a few. Oh, I think there's an example of Otskotsis up here. I'll show you that one. It is in the we are in the first winter moon. We're well into it, not quite at the halfway, not quite at the full moon, but we're well into it. Here's another example of moss down here. You see that one is still connected into the ground, so you could harvest that as a food root. Here is Otskotsis, these prickly pear cacti, and an actual pear from those at this time of year has fallen off, and the mice take them and harvest the seeds out of them. So yeah, these are just a few of the plants, and hopefully we'll find some Studs him on eventually here. Alright, we're getting closer now. Here's an example of the plant itself. The ball cactus. There's another one here. Looks like these ones were just too young. Hadn't had any of their berries yet. Hopefully though, we'll run into one nearby that has berries. Over here though, is what I was talking about just a few minutes ago. You see, these are the Confluence, the prickly pear cactus, and here you can see where the pears, like this one, have dropped off, and the seeds are outside of the pear. And this one, you can't see it that good. Over here is another example. See if we can get in the frame. There we go. There's the pear, and you can see the seeds around it, and each of the seeds has a hole in the side because the mice have come and opened them up and eaten those seeds already. So this is an important start of winter food for the mice. I see it every year, same way. They're always eating the seeds of Confluence, which is the prickly pear cactus. Now, if I can only find myself some of the fruits of what Stutsimon ball cactus, I'll be happy. But we'll see. It's not that prolific here in this coulee, but it is around. Still no luck. Been going about a half hour now, and about another half hour my friend will be here, so I'm going to make my way up to the top, then back along the top toward where I'm going to meet him. Another interesting plant here. There's a couple of them, a couple of grasses that I know here. I'm not very good with grasses. This is one of them though that I do know. This is called blue gamma, and you see it has these little heads on it. Now, my understanding is in the past people would look at these heads to see what kind of winter is going to be. So if it has just one head on it, on a stem, then it's going to be a pretty mild winter. If it's got multiple heads, if it's got two, it's going to be a bit harsher. If it's got three, it might be a really harsh winter coming up. So most of these seem to have two heads on them this year. And so, you know, if the stories work out, then we should be having not the harshest winter, but not the mildest either. This other one here, so this is what I call a needle and thread grass, and these long seeds get really, stuck up in your clothing and such. And I don't know any uses for this plant, traditionally or anything like that, but I just know it's called needle and thread grass. Just a couple of grasses. I'm really not good with grasses. I wish I knew more about them, although I see up here, I think I see a reed grass that I know. Let's head up here and see if I'm right. Yeah, being out in the prairie here, I really should get to know more of the grasses. Should be one of my focuses in terms of learning the plants, but I just find the grass is really tough, and the field guides for grasses are just terrible. Just cannot find a good field guide for prairie grass. Yeah, the ones I was thinking of, these taller ones out here, This is not the reed grass. Maybe I'll run into some on my way up or somewhere. But there's a reed grass here that I know. Canary reed grass. There's a Indian rice grass. There's a few grasses that I know, but it's not that many. Anyway, up to the top we go. Alright, still having no luck on the Otstutsimon berries. I'm up at the top and my friend should be here pretty soon. I'm going to go down and check the rattlesnake dens there. I have picked berries, the Otstutsimon, right there by the rattlesnake den, so we might find some there. Who knows, we might see a snake, might not. There's another plant here. It's worth showing. You can see this flower top here. This is a Bisutzinicum, a prairie onion, and it's one of these, it's onion, so it's a traditional root food plant, and you can pick it. This is it. You can pick it all year round if you want. Anytime, and it's got a sharp oniony flavor. It should smell like onion. Test it, because some people will get confused. For me, I find it hard to get confused between them, but some people will get confused between the prairie onion and the death camas, which is a root that you should not eat. So smell it, make sure it smells like onion, and then you can eat it raw, you can eat it cooked. If you pick a bunch of them and you want to just store them, the way that I found to store them is you leave the whole plant intact. Like you leave the flower head attached all the way to the root, and don't clean it off, don't wipe the dirt off, don't take the skin off, just leave it. You can store prairie onion like that for maybe 6 months, and it'll still be good eating. If you clip the roots off, they just kind of like self-destruct. It's almost like they turn to dirt. If you clean them, same way. Got to just leave the whole plant intact and don't clean it, and just clean it when you're actually going to use it. So anyhow, next stop is probably going to be the rattlesnake den, but we'll see. Just a phenological note. I've noticed that really there's no more insects out. I saw one grasshopper in the last 40 minutes or so walking around, and maybe 45 minutes walking around. I've seen no flying insects at all. No dragonflies, no bees, no drone flies, no wasps, nothing like that. So the extent to which what's going on here phenologically reflects what's going on at the pond. They're pretty close together, but they're not always exactly timed the same. But certainly this is a change from last week, when we still had butterflies, still had dragonflies, drone flies, honeybees, wasps, lots and lots of grigs still out last week. So yeah, so this has been a shift, and it hasn't been all that much colder since last week. It's I think about 7 or 8 degrees right now in the afternoon. It's been getting down there at night to close to 0, but still, when we've got any condensation, it's been rain. It hasn't been snow. I'm still wearing shorts and sandals, though I am wearing a hoodie and a toque, so that says something. But yeah, the insect life has changed since last week, fairly dramatically, I think. Yeah, so surprisingly enough, there were still a couple of rattlesnakes out, but they all moved into the hibernacula that I visited before I could get any kind of footage of it. We just saw one adult and one neonate. So that's probably the last time we'll see any snakes. We checked even this larger hibernacula, and there wasn't any around, so it's just too cold now. We got lucky to see the two that we did. Won't see them again till spring. So just a quick run today. But the new thing is a lot more coloration in the trees and a lot less insects.